What's up, Spartan Nation? It's Jacob Kotzinker here back for yet another edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. A couple weeks now into the college football season. Michigan State sitting at 3-1. Spartans just dropped their Big Ten opener against the USC Trojans. Tough road game, 45-31. We've gone over the coverage of that a good bit. Some cautious optimism a little bit from that game, but still a game where they have a lot of different stuff that they really are going to have to clean up as they get more into the depths of the Big Ten season. So what we're going to talk about today is the best path for Michigan State to get to a spot where they haven't gone since 2021, and that's a bowl game. Again, some bowl projections have them somewhere. Some of them don't. Again, there's coverage of that on Michigan State Spartans on SI right now. You can see where they're being projected to reach a bowl game, which guys have them at a bowl game and which ones don't, and some of the different highs and lows of the season so far. Keep checking it out at SpartanNation.com. But looking at the schedule for Michigan State, it's tough. It's the Big Ten now. It's just kind of life in the Big Ten in the revenue sharing era in general. There's not a lot of bad teams in the Big Ten anymore. It's like you just don't see a lot of just doormats and teams that are you should expect to waltz over. The only team that I think is just truly bad right now is UCLA. They lost to New Mexico. They lost to UNLV. They got destroyed by Utah. But besides that, there's not just one team on Michigan State's schedule that's bad that you can just look at and say W and move on. That's Michigan. Well, for one, Michigan State's team isn't good enough to where you can just breeze over certain opponents. And again, it's also a mix of that. Everyone's floor has kind of heightened a little bit because of revenue sharing and because of NIL. When teams have so much money to throw at players, teams are just going to get better across the board. But the effect of that happens is that even teams that might have gone 7-5, 8-4, 9-3 in the past might go 5-7 now. They might go 6-6 just because all the talent is kind of consolidating in the Big Ten and in the ACC SEC right now. The ACC's having a tough time, I think, from the stats this season. But looking at the schedule, there's one game where I think Michigan State fans should look at and say, you better win, and that's UCLA. Besides that, you got to find two more wins. They're 3-1. They're halfway there. But two of those were kind of those free wins against Youngstown State and Western Michigan. They were able to get one of those toss-up games against Boston College. That was one they needed to get, I think, especially now after that USC game. But looking through it, they're going on the road to Nebraska. Next, that's in 2 weeks. It was announced on Monday. It will be a 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff on FS1. And, I mean, it's Nebraska. Nebraska's not been great last couple of years. But if you ever watched a Nebraska home game, they got the best fans, I think, in college football. They've sold that thing out since, the 60s, the 70s? Not one home game with empty seats. It's tough, and they played Michigan tough. They were right there, toe-to-toe with the Wolverines. I think Michigan could have done a couple of different things better in that game. A couple of very preventable mistakes, like the Hail Mary that Nebraska had, and some other things that Michigan could have done to maybe win by more than 3 points. I believe it was 30-27 in that game. But I mean, to be blunt, Michigan has looked like a stronger team than Michigan State to this point. And they were able to go in there and get a win against Nebraska. So it's kind of in this weird part where I think this game is winnable for Michigan State, but I think you still when eventually the odds and everything come out about this game, you're not going to see Michigan State as a favorite. Nebraska is definitely going to be the favorite in this ball game. Michigan State's not even going to have the rest advantage in this game. Nebraska is going into a bye as well, as is the Spartans. So you're going to see 2 weeks of preparation against 2 weeks of preparation. Games like this you'd probably want after a game like USC. You'd probably want when you're going to the bye week that your next opponent is coming off of another game. But that is not the case here in this one. Nebraska also has some time off. After that, again, you have the UCLA game, home game. UCLA is going to be playing that game at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So there's the travel fatigue, and there's also the fact that they're going to be playing a football game at a time where football games are not supposed to be getting played at. So a little bit of revenge, I guess, for Michigan State after an 11 p.m. kickoff on the West Coast. Uh, so yeah, it's so funny because that's going to be Michigan State's first noon game in forever. They didn't have a single noon game last year, and I can't remember exactly when they had their last noon game, but it's been a long time. It's been more than a year. And 5 games here into this season before they get their first noon game of this season. But after that, after they play UCLA, they're going to play 3 ranked teams in 4 games. You have a road game against Indiana. After Indiana beat Illinois 63-10 in Bloomington, I don't know if I see Michigan State going in there and coming out with a W. You know, Indiana, Kirk Cignetti, they're bringing the heat this year. Both last year and this year, they beat Michigan State 47-10 in Spartan Stadium last year, and now you're going to their place. They're still motivated because it's Indiana. They've had so many years of just terrible football there. Now they got something. You know the fans aren't ever going to ease off of enjoying it. You know Kurt Cignetti's not going to ease off either, and they look just as good, if not better, this year. Especially again, we're kind of going off of a 1-game sample size with the Hoosiers, but 63-10 against Illinois, who is still ranked, maybe for some reason, but still not a bad football team in Illinois. Your ears perk up. After that, they have Michigan at home. Rivalry game, anything can happen. But again, Michigan State hasn't won this game since Kenneth Walker was walking through that door. And all due respect to everyone on this roster, there is not there's no Heisman candidate that, at least not yet, has emerged for this team. There's no one here who's probably going to have a 5-touchdown game in that one. Michigan's not as good as they were in 2021, in fairness, but they're still solid. Bryce Underwood looks pretty much as advertised. He still has kind of that rawness to him, but you watch him play, you can see he's something there. Road game against Minnesota. After that, that's one I think Michigan State's probably going to have to try and take. Minnesota hasn't looked super strong so far. They're 2-1. Their lone loss was a road game at Cal. So again, that's a cross-country trip, but Cal's kind of had a weird little season as well. They just lost a game to San Diego State 34-0. So Minnesota, other wins against Oregon State, who looks dreadful, and Texas Southern. That's for Cal, excuse me. Minnesota, other wins, no power conference wins. Buffalo by 13. Woohoo. And Northwestern State destroyed them, whatever. So road game there. Again, tough one. Still, I believe FPI has the Gophers as the favorite right now in that one, but that's a game where I think Michigan State's got to find a way probably. That could be, assuming they beat UCLA and they lose both of the, let's just say the favorites win in the next 4 games and Michigan State goes in there at 4-4, they got to win that one. That would be a real must win, because that would get them to 5-4, give them 3 shots at getting to that 6th win. Really, I mean, I'd really consider it 2 shots, because then they have Penn State coming into town on November 15th. They'll have the bye week to prepare for that game, but Penn State's Penn State. They're number 3 in the country right now. I don't see that happening, even though it's in Spartan Stadium. It would take a real big effort, but Penn State, we haven't seen Penn State tested as well. They've had a really weak non-conference schedule, but still. I'm assuming the number 3 team right now would probably win that game. And then you end with 2 games against Iowa and Maryland. Neither of those games are easy either. Iowa got a nice win at Rutgers this past weekend, but they can win. I think Michigan State could match up fine with Iowa, with the way just Iowa football in general goes. If you're able to keep things close, you could just find a way to win that game, even though it's in Kinnick Stadium. And then you have the quasi-home game against Maryland. I thought this was, looking at the schedule, this is a game earlier on in the year. I thought they got to win that one, but Maryland has surprised a little bit. They just got a real good win at Wisconsin. Badgers don't look great, but they are going to get their. It was on their backup. I can't remember if Billy Edwards, their starting quarterback, was back for that game against Maryland. But either way, it's difficult to waltz into Camp Randall Stadium and just crush a team, and Maryland did that. But I still think with if say Michigan State's 5-5 going into those last two games, I think this is a team that's good enough to win at least one against Iowa and Maryland. So, all in all, schedule outlook, I think there's a relatively realistic path here. They could always steal a game. Like, they play the games for a reason. These games are not played on paper like the Michigan game. Yeah, Michigan's probably the better team right now, but it's in Spartan Stadium. You know the atmosphere is going to be great for that, and it's a rivalry game. Michigan State has pulled off bigger upsets than this one before in this rivalry. And again, you just never know. You know, it's college football. That's part of the reason people love college football is the underdog wins sometimes. And Michigan State is only the favorite, I believe, right now in one of these games, UCLA. So they've got to find a way to probably steal a game against somebody and got to win some of those other real winnable ones. They got to beat, first of all, number one, they got to beat UCLA. Lose to UCLA, it's going to go into the sky is falling mode. And they've just got to find a way to win two more. I still think they can win at Nebraska if the cards are right. I think they can beat. I really think they're a better football team than Minnesota on paper. And then I think they've just got to find a way to just win one of those games against Iowa or Maryland at the end of the season. I think this was I thought this was probably a 7-5, 6-6 team going into the year. I still kind of feel the same way right now, but it's still going to be a challenge. Yeah, that's the outlook I think Michigan State has right now. So, again, I'm Jacob Katsanika. Continue to keep tuning in to SpartanNation.com. Keep reading everything we churn out every single day, covering your Michigan State Spartans, and I'll see you guys around.